Good morning, everyone. Hello and welcome to your orientation for history in grades 11 and 12. Well, to be honest, this is a little weird for me as well, just talking like that. And I really wish that all of you were here in front of me so that we could have a conversation. But hopefully, we will get to have a conversation later on, maybe this week or next week. But just for the sake of convenience, we are recording this session, the orientation session. Um, Before I go any further, let me just please present a PPT that has been made for the orientation. I hope that it will be visible to all of you. Okay, so first, let me begin by saying that this PPT was has been made by some of my ex students, right? So they've in fact put a lot of things that they thought about the subject and um, how much fun they had while doing it. Their words, not mine. Okay, so according to my ex students and also according to me, the thing is that the history of grade 10 and the history that you study till grades 9 and 10 and the one that you study in 11 and 12 is very, very different. It's like chalk and cheese, okay? And till grade 10, you don't actually study history, okay? But why is that so? I'll explain that to you in a while. After this, my students put a lot of interesting quotes that have to do with history. And if we would have discussed all of them, if you were here with me, okay? And all right. And this is a question that I ask all my students before we start. In fact, when we start our first class in grade 11, this is the question that I'm going to put to you. So the answer to this is not, you don't have to explain what the subject of history is, but what is history to you. Okay. For instance, all your childhood memories, all the memories that you have of your friends in school, of your parents, all of that is history. In fact, if you ate a pizza yesterday, that too is history, right? And the situation that is going on in the world today, the pandemic, that of course will become part of our histories, part of our own personal histories, the histories of our lives, and it will be such a part that we will never be able to forget it, right? And all of this is something that we discuss, that we talk about in 11th and 12th. So, just one of the ways in which the history that you study in 11th and 12th is very different from the one that you study in 9th and 10th. Okay? All right, moving on. We will be discussing all these things that you see on the PPT. Okay, these were just some interesting things that my students put here, right? Some of the interesting facts of history, right? Why is facts in air quotes? You will find out. All right, so I'm just going to skip ahead, right? And here you will see a slide showing the character Joey Tribbiani from the popular TV series Friends. And here is another one from Friends, and here is another one from Friends. Okay? Now you must be wondering, why do I have pictures from Friends in an orientation about history, right? Now the reason these pictures are here is because in 11th and 12th, we talk a lot about things like TV shows, films, music, right? Those of you who might be interested in theater, we talk about, I'm a theater person myself, I do theater. So we talk about all of this, okay? All of this is linked to the subject, okay? So when we're talking about these things in class, it's not as if it's a fun class. I mean, it's not as if it's a free class where we're not exactly studying. This is part of your studies, okay? talking about these TV shows, talking about films that you like. And how is it a part? For that, you will have to take history and come to my class. Okay. Now, before I move on with the syllabus, I just want to do away with two myths that there are about history. Okay. And unfortunately, most of the students and parents uh, have somehow they have this notion. But these two things are myths; they are not facts. And what are they? Number one, people seem to believe that the syllabus in history in 11th and 12th is too vast and too huge. That's really not the case. The number of chapters in history is the same, exactly the same as the number of chapters in, say, pol science or sociology, and the length of the chapters is also the same. In fact, in grade 12, the history has 15 chapters and pol science has 17 chapters, right? So the chapters and the length of the chapters is not even 1% more as compared to the other subjects. That is myth one. The second myth is that in history, you have to memorize a lot of dates. I don't know why people think that. Yes, it was true when I was in school, okay? Or even, no, even when I was in school, I don't remember learning that many dates. This was true of the 50s and the 60s, maybe, when my parents were in school. But it is 2021 right now. Learning dates, please let me assure you, is not what history is about at all. Okay, it is not. Yes, we do talk about context. Context means that we would know what century we are talking about, right? So if we're talking about today, everybody knows it is the 21st century, right? Similarly, we will be looking at broad swaths of time, and we will be looking at the centuries. We will not be looking, so nobody is going to ask you that what happened on 14th May 1896. Nobody is going to ask you that. It's nobody's going to ask you that in the exams. Nobody's going to talk about it even in the class. Okay, which is why we were showing to you I was showing to you the pictures, slides with the friends thing on it, right? Those are the sorts of things we talk about in class. Yes, we do the syllabus as well. However, we do not memorize dates, okay? And also, memorization is not a part of history, the subject of history, okay? Memorization is one learning technique. Okay, and every student has their own learning technique. Some students memorize everything and write that in the exam, right? Some students understand the key points and then write it in your own words. Okay, also CBSE has changed the format of the question paper a lot, right? So now there are a lot of analytical questions in the question paper, even in the boards. And for answering those analytical questions, what we focus more are concepts. Okay? Which is why I told you that you don't really study history till grade 10, because we do not look at concepts like that till grade 10. Till grade 10 is only looking at what is in your textbook, understanding that, and learning that, and writing that in the exam. Okay? And concepts is also the reason why I was talking about discussing TV series and film shows and all. All of that is also tied into the fact that we pay more emphasis on concepts rather than memorizing dry facts or memorizing dates. Okay. Now, as far as the syllabus is concerned, in grade 11 we study world history. Okay, and the exciting thing over there is that in 11th we have the freedom to do as many chapters as we want. So we don't I generally do not do generally I have never done all the chapters that there are in the textbook. We pick and choose, and the exciting thing is that you get to pick and choose, that is the students. So whenever I get students in grade 11, we have a discussion about what the chapters are. I tell all of you what the chapters are and what all they entail. And then I choose one, which I think is important for you to know. Otherwise, you choose which chapters you want to do. So grade 11 in world history, we start with human evolution. And then we go on to things like the Roman Empire, the Mesopotamian civilization, and we study important characters like Genghis Khan, or interesting time periods like the Renaissance. Right? So we do all of that. It is not First World War and Second World War. That's not part of the syllabus at all. It's very interesting things, and you can choose which topics and chapters out of these you want to do. Now, last year, owing to the pandemic, CBSE had themselves, they had cut out few chapters of the syllabus. So we didn't get this option to pick and choose because CBSE chose for us. This year also, most probably the same thing is going to happen. So that is a little unfortunate that you might not get to choose your chapters. But yes, if CBSE doesn't choose for us, you will choose. Then in grade 12, we come back to Indian history. Unfortunately, there you can't pick and choose because it's grade 12, so we need to finish the entire syllabus. We start with the Indus Valley Civilization, and we go on till the independence, struggle for independence for India, and the partition and the making of the constitution. So it's a wide range time period that we cover, almost the entire history of India. But when you look at the textbooks, you see that even the chapters have been included in such a way that they don't focus on facts or dates. They focus more on concepts, right, and analysis. Okay, that's as far as the syllabus goes. Apart from that, there is before the pandemic, we used to do field trips. So we used to go to places in Delhi, and then there was this annual thing, this picture actually, where we used to go to Amritsar. That was a whole lot of fun. Um, whether your batch will get to do all that, I really don't know because of the situation, but I hope that we can get all those experiences back because they're just wonderful. Okay, and okay, so coming back to what I was talking about, right, as to why till grade 10 you really don't study history. Now in senior school, that is in 11 and 12, these three things make up history. So you have content. Content is basically refers to the syllabus, the chapters in your textbook. That's the concept. Concepts are wider ideas that you use for analysis. So, for instance, identity is a concept, gender is a concept, caste is a concept, right? So, more than this, we focus on this. And finally, all of this, when you add this and this, it leads to skills. So, a lot of your skills are built, right? We focus on skill building. So, for instance, you will develop the skill of reading, writing, of course, but most importantly, you will develop your critical thinking and analytical skills. Okay, so for instance, everything that happens around you, everything that happens in society, okay, right from the pandemic to things like why are girls put in pink clothes when they're born and why are boys put in blue clothes when they're born, okay, to various other things which affect you personally in your life, in your school, in your family, in the society that you live. All of those things, all of those structures, all of those processes will be unraveled, will be understood by you, right? And so basically, when you study history, you will basically not just be looking at what happened in the past, you will also acquire the skills to understand what happens around you and why the society that you live in functions the way it does. Okay, so any questions that you may have had about the life, about your life, about the world, about society, the subject of history is capable of answering all those questions, right from the very small questions to the very, very big ones, right? So that is the main focus of this subject, trying to understand the world around you and why it is the way that it is. Okay. Uh, Now, these slides are just, they have been put in thanks to the CGC, right? And they mention all of the careers that you can take up after you finish your school, okay? It also gives a list of, it gives a list of the careers. It also gives a list of the universities which are known for their history programs, okay? However, these will be the better people to give information about this are the wonderful people who make up our CGC. Okay. Apart from that, I also have two students who will be talking about their experiences. One of the students studied history in the so-called normal pre-pandemic world. So she attended regular school and went on all the field trips. And the other student is the pandemic person who did online classes, right? And so both of them will share their experiences with you about how it was in the different scenarios, and any questions that you have, you can ask me, of course, but you can also ask. These students of mine are the better people because they will tell you what their experience was and what it is, what are the important things that they learned by studying history, and how, after they studied it for 2 years, how their outlook has changed and how they are better able to make sense of the world. Before I end this, I would just like to leave you, when we were talking about the myths that people have about history, related to that, I would just like to leave you with this thought, right? So if you memorize it, if you memorize something without understanding what it is, and you just sort of vomit it out on your paper, that is really not history. And if I've made it sound all mysterious and all, good. Please take history and come to class, and we will figure, and you will understand what I was talking about, and we'll figure this out together. And what I can promise you is a whole lot of fun. That is my promise to you. Okay. I will end here. I hope that you and your families are in the best of health. And I hope everything is fine with you. My prayers for you and your families. And I hope I get to meet you soon. And we just come out of this together and stronger than before. And I cannot wait to meet you. All right. See you, everyone. Bye-bye.